excited to be here to do
My
this.
name is Laura Foster.
Guitar player extraordinaire slash resident fun guy at Northside Baptist
Trio Quinn. I'm actually Charlie's cousin.
Will Baker. Eddie.
Baines Blanton. I'm a junior at Lowndes High School.
Peterson. I'm a student at Lowndes High School.
All right, welcome to the podcast, man. I'm so glad to have you on today. If you could introduce yourself, and we'll just keep on going.
Sure. My name is Shadley Hurst. Mostly go by Shad.
Yep.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
I'm ecstatic to be here.
Yep. I know you've heard a lot about the episodes and everything, and I know you've listened to some of them, which I'm really happy that you've tuned in. You know, because I can't see who exactly is tuned in to all of them, so it makes me happy to know that you have.
And it's like we were talking before the microphone turned on. You really do a great job. I mean that.
Thank you. Like, you know, because sometimes that is really needed to not, to hear. Because let me tell you, like, I'll tell you, the devil does not like this thing right here. He does not like this podcast one bit. You know, because sometimes I'll just be like, am I doing this for the right reasons? Or like, or just, even 50 episodes in, I'm thinking that sometimes. So it's really needed and encouraging that you say that. But when it comes to your story and your testimony, what is it all about?
Well, it's probably, I'd say, like a lot of people. I grew up in church.
Yep.
My whole life. I was raised Pentecostal. Church of God is where I come from. My great aunt, I want to say, actually started a Church of God in Satan.
Wow. That's something to behold.
All my great grandparents, they were reverends and pastors in the Church of God. So that's where I really came from. So I grew up in church, my whole life. We settled here, I guess, when I was in middle school at Northside. I would say, like I said, when I was young. And we settled here, and we've been here ever since.
Yeah, I mean, so you've been here since like before the renovation, the red carpets were here.
Oh, red carpets. Three
centered pews. Yeah, and they weren't. Do they have cushions on them back then?
Yeah,
they did. Okay, because I just wasn't sure because I know that some churches they don't
Yeah,
and I remember
have those old wooden back. Wood seats, whatever. No,
right.
We had cushions.
And I was because I remember like years ago, even I would go to the fall festivals. Even before I joined as a member, and I found a picture of me in this monkey costume. Of when I was at the fall festival. And one thing that caught my eye though, because I noticed the Family Life Center letters have not changed at all. They've been the same for years. And the same thing with the tables, because I was sitting at one of the tables in the Family Life Center, messing around with something, and they're the same tables. I'm like, I guess if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
One of those old white tables?
Yeah,
yep.
One of the rolling ones that we use for dinners. And I was like, oh my gosh, they really have not changed just one bit. There might be tiny Charlie DNA on one of these somewhere. And it was just crazy to look back on. It's that room has not changed at all.
No.
It might be a little bit more weathered, but it's not changed. Of course, the room's inside that just changed for the college wing. But
I haven't even seen
that.
You've
not seen. It looks so good in there. Because the youth is getting to use it with since we don't have our space yet, it's getting to get used by both of us. And it's so weird because we've been in the room so many times and we know the shape of the room, but it is so different. And plus, it smells so much better too, because they don't have carpet in there anymore. So you got it's hard floor, so it's not going to smell as bad either.
Sure, yeah. We use the college house. I don't know if that's been used recently.
I think the high school boys use it for life groups since we don't have our space yet.
Yeah.
They use it. I think they do because I remember it's funny they marching like an army. You see them coming through the door. It's it's oh, there they go, there they are. But so when it comes to Northside as a whole, in your opinion, what's one thing that makes Northside different, in your opinion, compared to other churches?
Man,
there's so much, right?
There's the people. For one, the people here are genuine. They're authentic. I don't want to say motto, but the motto love God, love people.
Yeah.
That's one thing our church knows how to do.
Oh yeah.
You love God, you love people. And like I said, I've grown up here pretty much my whole life. well, since middle school. And I mean, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, people, that same spirit that's here has been here.
Yeah.
To me.
And that's great, to hear, just because I know that Northside did go through some hard times with, pastors and everything. Yeah. But even though all that happened, there was still the love for God and love for people.
Yeah, like I said, that spirit never, even though it was hard, there was a period where it was hard. Yeah. That spirit never left.
Yeah. So. And because I think I heard it from Noah, maybe, he was saying that, there were weeks from closing the doors, which is crazy to think about. Mm-hmm. Like, with where Northside is at now, it's just insane to think about. And then Pastor Robbie comes along and says, God's like, no, let's put Pastor Robbie in.
I'm telling you,
and
Pastor
see what
Robbie
happens.
Is one in a million. He is one of the best.
Oh, yeah, you got that right, yeah. And, with this whole podcast thing, when he, agreed to interview, I was nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to interview Pastor Robbie from Northside Baptist Church. I was like, this is, the man that gets up every Sunday, does his sermons, and does a heck of a job, and I think it was kind of short. It was 26 minutes, but just to sit down with him for 20 minutes or so and talk with him, there was so much good stuff in it. And I remember, I think it was when it was around, it was, kind of cold. Then it was around February, so it was still kind of chilly, and I was wearing a jacket in that office. I don't know if you've been to the offices back there, but they can get so hot.
Where his office is?
And down, and they can get so hot, and I'm wearing this jacket, and I'm over here sweating because I'm nervous, and I'm sweating because it's so hot, and I'm like, this is not a good combination, but I'm getting through this. This is gonna be a great episode, and
it was.
Still to this day, it is the number one episode that people listen to.
It was a great episode.
And then Miss Laura's right behind it, which doesn't shock me. At one point, all three Fosters were right there. You had Robbie, Laura, and Josh. They were the top three, and I'm like, well, that just goes to show you what happens when you slap Foster in the title somewhere.
And look how far you've come
since
then. I mean, you said before we started, you're on episode 50.
Yeah, and and it's crazy that I haven't stopped. Which, that's the Lord right there just providing people. Because, and, it was funny, Pastor Robbie at one point, he said, I think it was maybe when I interviewed Miss Laura, he said, you've hit the jackpot with people. And I'm like, you got that right. And then I didn't really understand until... It's oh yeah, I really have. The amount of people that I've been able to meet and interview, especially with working up here, I was able to meet some of the more of the staff.
Sure,
with and that was how I kind of got around to interviewing Ben and Donna. Mm-hmm. And they did a great job. And I'm gonna tell you, oh my gosh, Ben's hilarious.
They're great people. Ben's hilarious.
Oh yeah, he cracks me up. He saw me the other day in the hallway. It was actually yesterday, and he goes, so, hey, Charles. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you go by Charles or Charlie? Charlie's like, are you Charles? And I'm like, yeah, I am. But I go by Charlie. And he's like, I was like, that's my government name. And he just busted out laughing. I was like, and so it's fun to for me, I got to see the personalities of the staff. I don't, yeah, exactly. You don't just, because a lot of people, they just say, oh, that's the person that gets on his guitar, or that's the person that preaches, or no, I know what their quirks are, and that just makes me feel it makes me feel so good because I've picked up a lot of stuff Noah. I followed him for 2 months, and little things I picked up as little sayings that he says, for an example, say if something there's usually a technological thing that he doesn't like, he's like, that's just garbage. That's garbage, and I was like, no, you need to get that on a shirt, bro. You say
trademark
that,
it.
Yeah, trademark it. Just in air quotes, garbage, no blood.
Uh-huh.
Put that on a t-shirt or a hat, or and another thing he said was senor, what cracked me up. Say if you walked through that door right now and he was sitting here, he'd be like, hey, senor. It was just and it was just little stuff like that I got to see that was so cool because not everybody was getting to see it.
Right.
It's and I could describe it, and people are like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you got to be there.
And I think this podcast really does help show the other. Mm-hmm. Not just Sunday morning side.
Right. Oh, yeah, because one thing that Noah Jenkins told me, he's like, I'm learning so much about people in our church, and I didn't even know they were here, It's because there is no possible way. I don't think it's possible for Pastor Robbie, to know every single body that goes in and out of this church, for Sundays.
Yeah. When he first
that's
started,
impossible.
Oh my gosh, I guess 10 years ago, he could probably tell you every single person.
Probably.
On the side,
yeah.
Because there were I mean, it was just a couple hundred. I
Yeah.
think, if I remember correctly, was were here.
Now.
And now it's.
I mean, he does a great job at it. I don't know how he keeps it straight.
Oh, he's
But,
the best.
yeah, it was... I don't want to say that was my, like, mission, but I'll tell you, I made a point to make sure he knew who I was. I was like, you know, if I was doing the interviews and all that, I'm gonna make sure he remembers who I am.
You
like,
know my name.
Exactly. And, you know, and I actually got to be in a part of, like, some of the staff meetings and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right across that room right there. They do them in the senior suite.
Yeah.
They just rearranged the tables, and it was so cool. Like, people, like, oh, they hear the word staff meeting, they're like, oh my gosh, it's a bunch of mumbo jumbo. No, this is stuff that's gonna happen. Like, they're talking about future stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm hearing every single word of it.
Nice.
It's like, I'm not saying a word. I'm just letting them talk. You know, it's like you know,
Yeah.
it's like you're bringing your kid to work day. Like, you know, I'm sitting there like playing with a toy,
Bring Charlie to work.
and they're over here like just talking business.
Yeah.
But like, you know, just to like hear everything like they were talking about, you know, at the time, the crusade, the Bible conference, and all that, and I'm like, this is so cool to hear all this stuff,
ahead, yeah.
right? And you know, now I'm on schedule now, which is weird. You know, I'm on Pastor Robbie's schedule with like, you know, doing a Wednesday night thing, and that's weird to think about,
it's great,
and that's all
though.
God right there.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
and I'm sitting there going, how many people are gonna show up? I hope a lot. Please
Oh,
show
yeah.
up.
They will.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will.
And I'll tell you, the only thing that would make it better is if, because I know he does Wednesday night choir stuff, but man, I wish I could get Jeff in there.
Yeah.
You know, because like, I interviewed him, and his interview was actually the longest out of all the pastors, believe it or not. And I probably knew the least about him.
Really?
But it was just so fun to talk to him, you know.
He is one of those people you can just talk to. He's so open, and he's good as gold.
Oh, yeah. And I, you know, found that out with working with him. Oh, my gosh, he
He's
cracks
great.
me
He
up.
has a great sense of humor, too.
Oh, yeah, like, and I know that he's actually got this idea, and I've not mentioned this yet, but this will be the first time I've said it, that he's...
all ears.
Oh, yeah, he was talking to me, he told me the other day, he said, why don't you, you know, do merchandise, but why don't you give the money back to missions? And I was like, you know, for the Young Minds merch, and then tie it in with missions, and I'm like, yes, and more yes, let's do that.
Yeah.
Because I want merchandise
great
made,
idea.
and they can maybe help me do it in a cheap way, you know, not, but I mean, good quality, but a cheap way, and, you know, and then give the money back to something. I'm like,
That'd be
yes.
awesome.
You know,
I'm all
because
for that.
I'm
Let
like,
me know when to purchase a t-shirt.
you can mean it's gonna go out everywhere.
I will get a t-shirt.
It's like it'll, and who knows, maybe it'll expand to more stuff. But for now, it'll be
Yeah.
T-shirts. Like,
That's awesome.
you know, because I've got some pretty cool logos now. Like, I've worked on like a friend of mine. You know, he works on them for me, and I've got like a teal version of the lion that I've used now. It's like, so it's kind of like the Northside teal with infused with the lion,
Cool.
and I'm gonna use that for that secret, like, future project that I keep talking about.
Absolutely.
Man, I told you. See, I'm not even using the questions, and we're just talking.
You know, I mean, that having a good conversation.
Right. I
is
mean,
all
so
it
like,
is.
and we're not even like halfway through. And see, that's what happens. It's like I can get. It depends on the person, but I can just keep rolling
Just
and
walk
rolling.
on a tangent.
Yeah.
I understand.
And like me and Mikey did that. Like I'm like, well, of course we did. It's like Mikey likes to talk, and I like to talk, and we just kept on going. And I think we honestly, if you combine the time for the podcast that we did, and then the time we talked afterwards, it might have been close to 2 hours we talked.
goodness.
Because a lot of times this is the first time I will sit down with a person and have a one-on-one,
Yeah, yeah.
and we don't want to stop.
And you just really get to know the other person.
Right, and that's when that's been great. Is like not just for others, but for me too. I get to know these people, and then I'm like, oh hey, I know, you know, I've interviewed you. Like, now I get to say hi to you in the halls and not feel awkward about it, you know, you know. But now back to the questions.
Sure,
So what is your day job, and how do you see God working it each day?
So my day job, I work at the college, VSU, Valdosta State University. I work as an admin assistant. So I deal with, I pretty much work directly with students.
Yeah.
Every day. You know, it's more of an administrative side. So, you know, paperwork, you know, purchasing, advising, it's kind of all in one.
Yeah.
Kind of an all in one kind of role.
Man, a lot of you work at have jobs at the college. You're like, do something at it. You know, like I think about David Williams, you know, with the BCM.
Yeah,
And then Barry, you know, out at the, what is he? Isn't he like something to do with stats?
Barry is, I know his job title, but it's not coming to me. But he does like research.
Like, okay, because I saw
Like
that,
that, yeah.
because I saw that, he'll always post about it. If you're not posting about drums, he's posting or
Yeah.
worship, he's posting about
he's
that.
Good though. He's good at his job, and he's one of my dearest friends.
Yeah,
he's a great guy.
and like I think. So do you like work kind of towards like in like with the technical stuff too, like some of the technological stuff?
No, that's strictly like IT stuff. Yeah, I'm more. I mean, I have my own office with my boss. We share an office.
Yeah.
And like I said, we deal with students, and I help faculty if they need anything. So yeah, I mean, it's just something different every day.
I have to tell. I mean, they shouldn't. But like, hey, I got some contact out at the college, Baines and Steven, if you need some help. Because they're out there now with dual enrollment. So and they've been going to the BCM and everything, and I'm like, I got connections to the BCM too, because I literally. Steven was trying to find a place to go because he can't go to FCA anymore, at Lowndes. So I was like, I'll get you hooked up with David, because I interviewed him like that night, and I was like, let me interview him, and I'll give you his number, and I got all that. So I'm like the I'm like the I'm like the information guy. Like if there's anything Northside wise, they ask me. Like it's funny.
Now you said Steven. Is that Steven Peterson?
Peterson. Yes.
Would you believe me if I told you that we are very distantly related?
I'm not surprised by that. That means wait.
So my Nana, my mom's mom.
Yeah.
And his either great grandma or someone, or like first or second cousins, which makes my mom and his mom, Miss Stephanie, like second or third cousins. So
okay,
like
no wonder why y'all know each other so well. Yeah,
so,
that makes sense.
they're such a great family.
Oh, you kidding me? Yeah, like he was partly the reason why I'm sitting here right now. Because he introduced because it was like out of all the nights, it was like a Halloween night or whatever, and he's over here just like talking about his faith, and I'm like, I was mind blown, like
mesmerized.
Yeah, I was like, because you don't, if you go to lounge, you don't hear that unless you go to FCA or something, like just in mid conversation, you don't hear a kid talking about their faith like that, and so I was like. And I think, too, I've always said this, like, I think this was something I've always wanted was a relationship with Christ, but I didn't know how to do it. I was like, what do I do? Like, where do I go? Yeah. And then God opened the door. It's like, and then I was like, hey, Steven, I got questions. Like, and I got, I want to ask some stuff. And then I went to FCA and then met, me and Baines and Steven, we kind of have our group now. And it was like, all that just kind of came together. And then Easter, I say it'd be 2 years ago if you count, so it was on the 17th, and then I got saved, and then the week later I got baptized too, and then I don't know if you've heard me say this, but getting baptized by Randy, the first person that he baptized here, pretty cool thing.
Oh, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, and that's just a little nugget, because he told me how he was not supposed to he wasn't here long enough to start baptizing people. Right. But they just said, "Hey, Randy, we got this kid, the Charlie Banks that he wants to get baptized, and why don't you do it?" And he was like, "Charlie who?" He said, I remember listening to back, and he said that he's like, "Charlie who?" And they were like, "Charlie Banks," and he's told me now he's like, that now it's gonna be like, "Oh, I baptized Charlie Banks," but it's so funny to me.
Now everyone knows who you are.
Yeah, he's like, well, I'd hope so by now.
I got the privilege of baptizing Charlie Banks.
Yeah, and it was so I'll tell you, it was intimidating at first, because I remember I'd only went to 3 services, and then I made that decision quick. I was like, it didn't take long, and I just hear the choir just and I know you're probably up there thinking, you're they're all just looking at me, and I don't know half the people in the choir, and so I'm like, I don't know if you've ever seen I've talked about it, I've said it like this before. Ever seen the meme or episode of SpongeBob where Patrick says, "Who are you people?" And his eyes are just real wide, and I'm like, "Who are you people?" That was so funny. But another thing, my mom, she rededicated herself that day too. Because she didn't want me to, go in at it alone and be freaked out, and so she knew she needed to do it, but also, she did it for me. Yeah. And so it was really cool, to say that we did, and I'm also thankful that Northside, switched over to T-shirts that we could keep. And so I wear that a lot. I wear that shirt all the time. My Racer Life shirt, because it's comfy. Those are some comfortable shirts.
I'll do anything for a good T-shirt.
Yeah, go in the ring, start fighting somebody. Give me that T-shirt.
I'm gonna get a T-shirt out of this,
Exactly. Might have a bloody nose. Don't care. Bam.
But no, we are. I'm glad y'all are here.
Oh yeah, and love it so much. Like it's, we live about 30 minutes away, something like that. Don't care. We will take that 30 minutes and come. Like
a lot of people live.
Yeah.
Well, I say a lot, kind of generalizing, but a few people I'm sure live.
I know that some live in. I know some live in Lake. Like the Lays live in Lakeland, don't they?
Yeah.
Which I mean, it's crazy to think that our youth is like. I think it's partly because of the Lays. We have more Lakeland kids than we have Valdosta Schools kids. Which is because I think our majority is like, and I could be wrong, but I think it's like you have. For school wise, like Lowndes, Lakeland, and then you got like Valdosta, and then of course you get the rest of them are homeschooled, which that's like a major like amount.
Yeah.
Which it's I've talked about that with them, and I'm like, man, your schedules are so easy, like because you get to start school whenever. Like I was talking to Noah Divine, the other day, and I was like, dude, give me a schedule right now, and like you want to trade like.
Gladly.
Because I'm like, you get to wake up at like 9 to 10:30 every day. Oh my gosh. I wake up at 5:40 in the morning. Like.
No rest for the weary, Charlie.
No, not at all. And I was like, you got to be kidding. I was like, what? And I was hearing like some
I was never homeschooled, so I
yeah.
I don't know what that's like either.
Yeah, me, and I don't. And I was, saw that picture you posted about or shared like with you and the Bridgman. Like eons ago, I was in elementary then. I was like, "Whoa!"
It feels like eons ago. Yeah, I've been out of high school 10 years, Charlie. So when I said before the podcast, I feel old, but I'm not.
You're not that old.
But no, yeah, that's. I don't know if it's going to like segue into the next portion or not.
Yeah.
But when we really settled at Northside when I was in middle school, I was. Kind of awkward, I didn't really feel comfortable going to youth, but we had a great youth pastor at the time.
Yeah,
he's a great guy. So I played my saxophone, so I went to the music director at the time and asked if I could join orchestra, just sit in, my saxophone, and he said sure, and I was like 7th grade, 8th grade. And so I went one Wednesday night and I played that Sunday morning, and that's how I kind of got my foot in the door.
And so then you like jumped from that to singing then. Or do you still do that some? I don't know.
Well, kind of. So, I think I didn't start singing on Praise Team until I was probably maybe 12th grade or like after high school. So yeah, I sang in the choir. I think I kind of went back and forth.
Yeah, and it was funny. I think my mom told you, but when we saw that Name It Down in Glory was on the schedule for what was it, last week, something like that, she was like, oh my gosh, it's your song, it's yours, because you got that solo in it. And I was like, yep, that's his right there.
It is. It's like, I've had people, I don't say this to be, whatever.
Yeah, I got you.
But it's just a testimony song. It's a fun song.
Oh yeah, it's like yours and Elijah's song right there, because y'all got those solos right there. He's got the saxophone.
I don't know if the first time we did it, I don't think that was part of the first time. I don't think that was a thing.
Yeah.
And so
they added that in.
It. And that first Sunday we did it, it was a whole different.
Oh yeah, I remember because I was in the congregation at the time. I was like, oh my gosh, there's people. We were getting excited.
That was added to it.
Yeah, we were like, woo.
I have never, and he ad-libs every single time. He never plays the same thing twice.
Wow.
So he kind of comes, to my knowledge, he just kind of comes up and does his own thing.
And jams, and then once it's over,
he's a great saxophone player.
Yeah, I need to go back and listen because, when you're sitting behind him, it's not projected out towards you, so it's hard to hear.
So you got that, I think you had a microphone Sunday.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's a testimony song. And,
oh yeah.
It's so much fun.
Oh yeah, and I enjoy it so much. And I remember that one song. I think I even messaged Jeff. I was like, "What is this song? I gotta because it's hard to pick them out just from lyrics if you go back and listen to the service sometimes." Yeah. And so I'm like, "What is this song? I gotta find it." Because you can't do the song if I think or find a song on your phone because. It's trying to find the OG version when it's the choir's version. Yeah, we don't release that on anything except the app. So it's you can't use that. And I'm like, what are these songs? I gotta find it.
I found that song, I think before Jeff came to Northside, but I love that song ever since it came out. And Charity Gale, I think, sings it, or she's featured on it. I mean, that whole, they're all good.
And it's funny, I'm not and I've heard this from other people, not trying to rag on Charity or nothing, but I've heard some people say she's got great music, but her concerts are kind of like her stage presence, I guess, isn't like, say like if you went to, I don't know, like a Mercy Me concert, which I've been to one, their stage presence is like they're interacting with people, talking with people, or like they're talking to you. She's over here like just doing her set, and then like towards the end, she's like, "Okay, thanks, bye." Like it's like you got to have a bit of a, I mean, I don't know. I've not been to. Well, I mean, I'm because she's got great music. I've not been to her.
She has great.
But I've not been. Oh yeah, I've not been to one of her concerts though, because the concerts I've been to, they've been at Wild Adventures, and so right in our backyard, like Newsboys. I mean, my gosh, so glad I went to that because I didn't know they did the rotating drum thing. Like. And then, my mom actually, she lost a bet when we said what song that they did the spinning drum thing. I'm like, she's like, "It's God's Not Dead." I'm like, "No, it's not that. It's Jesus Freak." And she was like, and I'm like, "You lost $5." It's like, it was so funny because I knew they did it, in the beginning. Yeah. And I was like, see, and we went. There was there was another one too. We went to Mercy Me, Newsboys, and then. Oh my gosh, I can't. There was another one too. I just don't remember. I went for King Country. That's the other one I went to. With the youth and everything, and that was fun because Mikey hung out with me and Baines, and so it was kind of funny, because his actual name is Steven, and so it's like we replaced Steven for a bit and had another Steven. I'm not. It's like we swapped out a Steven, but both tall, so it worked out. But it was just like that was fun, to hang out with him, especially now that he's like, a big preacher, like a youth intern at another church, which he actually reached out to me the other day and said, "Hey, you want to come up here like the first week of Christmas break and interview some people?" I'm like, yes.
See, you're doing big things.
It's like yes,
I mean, all the corners of the earth,
I know, like it's crazy to think of where this can go because and I've always said this before. It's like we don't know the full impact of what this can do, like what this episode can do, until we all get to heaven. Like then we'll know, right? Because you don't know, because like I said, this is going other places, but you don't know who it's individually touching every week or whatever. That's good. Now we talked about it some, but like, how do you like being in the choir?
Oh man, I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have to sing every Sunday. I don't have to have a microphone in my hand. So it's whatever. Yeah. But Jeff has revived the first Sunday he was here. I mean, the choir had been through a lot, and so he came, and I mean, he has revitalized that choir orchestra. It has grown and grown, and the people. I mean, I love singing. Oh yeah. And, like I said, I was raised in church. When I was younger, I was also raised on Southern gospel music. I would stay with my Nana and my great grandma at the time after school. And my great grandma, bless her, she always had on either a CD player, had a CD going, or she would have a VHS video player going. And it was either, Bill Gaither, Homecoming, and she would sit here on her couch and just watch it repeatedly. And I'd sit there with her, and I just, the harmonies, and, I like the upbeat songs when I was younger. And so that always drew me in every time. And, like groups like the Happy Goodmans, the Cathedrals, I mean, all these old, probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But, all that Southern gospel, that, like I said, that's what I grew up on. That's kind of where my, I guess, love for music started. And so. And,
it's funny, like, working with Jeff, I would, like, pop in there and we're like, there's this one song that I like listen. I mean, you don't have to take the suggestion, but, like, I'm just saying, I think the choir would do great on it. Like, some of the new songs, I know that, like, out of all the artists that are probably popular right now that we sing, Phil Wickham, we do a lot of Phil Wickham, which I am so happy. He did, and I was about to get to that. Some of that music that he released, I'm like, we could, the choir could nail. I just, like, I don't know who would do some of the solos on it, but like I believe would be just a great one because that's just a great testimony song of just like we believe who Jesus is. It's like it's, and I know like Creator would be good. I mean a lot of them, and then like Praise the Lord. I would love to do that one.
And I love music. I love music. I've had music. Music has played a big part in my life. Since I was little. And I love the new songs, but there's nothing to me like a hymn, or like the old songs, or that, because I don't know, that's just
That's just you. Yeah.
That's just me.
And it was so funny. Like I went to, me and my mom went to like it was a bit of an old school church. They still had like the hymn books and everything.
That red hymn,
Yeah. And we went to, it was I think like Clarksville Baptist or something when Miles went to go preach there, and we wanted to go support him. And I went and I was like, I looked at my mom and I went, what the like? It's like
what is this foreign object?
It's like I knew what it was, but I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like,
yeah.
Because I could not really read. Like
Yeah.
I was because the last time I read music was probably like middle school or something like that. Because I was in the chorus for a bit, and like I was like, oh my gosh, I am on the struggle bus, but I'm making it through. Like it was funny because Miss Hannon came up to me after the service and said, I was thinking about you after we pulled the hymn book out.
I bet, yeah.
Because
and that's how people, I guess used to learn how to read music was through hymnals, and I think Jeff does a really good job of incorporating hymns as well as today's current songs.
And they sound like the hymns sound like they don't sound out of place. If you know what I'm saying, they sound like they fit into that modern he kind of takes them and kind of not really turns them on their head, but he changes them up a little bit to where they sound like they fit in with the rest of the songs, and it's like it makes you like anybody else like them better, because sometimes if you're just like I think now you go to the old timey churches, like you hear them just singing them, I'm like we need some drums or something up in here. Come on.
One pianist, one organist, and that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
But Jeff, I think he does a fantastic job of.
Oh yeah, and
mixing it up.
like if talking about like some of like just the the worship ministry's humor up there, like in the office. My gosh, like I remember like the first week I went up there, I was just like, I didn't want to overstep or anything like because I was just up there, and I remember like Miss Sherry, she'll do this often. She'll bring up donuts for us up there, and Noah, he was really being funny. He was like being real loud. He said, I'm not gonna be too loud in here, but he said, Charlie, you want a donut? And I was like, no, I'm good, thanks. And he's like, you sure you don't want a donut? Come on, Charlie, you want a donut. And like, it was little stuff like that cracked me up. And Jeff would do stuff like that all the time. Like I remember, I think you were in there when, it might have been the kickoff. Was it the kickoff? I don't know, but when he started dancing on one of the songs. Like that cracked me up.
Like I said, he's great.
And that was part of the reason why I joined, was because how Jeff is. It was like, I know you need more guys, and I'll be more than happy to sing with you, and because I just love serving all of them up there. Like
the choir is very welcoming.
Oh yeah.
And like Jeff said Wednesday night, there's always a chair. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of room for people.
It's like even if all the chairs are filled, we're gonna find a place.
Even if the chairs are filled on Sunday morning, we will make room for you.
Exactly. Like we will share a chair, whatever.
That's how it should be. We're not gonna. I don't think you should ever turn away someone if that's where they feel like their gift is singing.
Right.
Please come join the choir.
Please do, and
that's my little plug right there.
Yeah. Please come join the choir right now.
Or
I don't look. If you're like, I don't know, if you're listening from, I don't know, just an example, Tennessee, come down here right now. Move and come down here and join the choir. Yeah, I promise we'll welcome you. Okay, it might be a little bit hotter than what you're used to, but it'll be okay.
Yeah.
But when it comes to our youth, I ask all these questions all the time, and I love the answers I get because they're very diverse, because with person to person. But when you look at the youth today, do you see hope, or are you worried about the future?
That's a good. I was not prepared for that question.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But 50-50?
I'm not going to be negative and say the future's bleak and dark and hopeless, because that's not the case. I don't know where this was. It was a couple of weeks ago, I think. There was a revival that broke out.
Was it
somewhere.
Auburn?
It might have been Auburn.
Yeah, and I think they're still talking about that, too.
And there's 2 weeks later, here we are.
Yeah.
And so, I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah, and one thing that was so cool to me, because it's like my comfort movie, is Jesus Revolution. I just love to go back and watch it every time I get. And and then you think about that time period too, just that whole time, because that was when the Asbury revival was going on. Like that was God right there. Like you cannot tell me that, a movie about revival in the 70s comes out around the same time that a revival is actually happening. And then I know that we did some, Valdosta, VSU did some stuff then, like some stuff was happening there.
I think they had prayer on the front lawn.
Yeah.
Or, they sang. Or something to that effect.
And it was it was for a while, wasn't it? It was it might
have been for maybe a week-ish, I want to say.
Mm-hmm. And like I know that
it drew a crowd.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I haven't worked with youth in a while. You know, I used to be more involved in the youth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would be a small group leader, D&L leader for the weekends. You know, I did trips, whatever.
Yeah.
And so my time in the youth, you know, from what I recall, you know, I think we're in good hands. But looking at today, you know, you say youth, you know, I think the kids are going to be okay.
Yeah.
Cause
I mean, because
you have leaders like David, for example, at the BCM. Yep. That has grown exponentially.
Oh yeah,
since
didn't he just post something? I don't remember exactly what he posted, but they said that they had like triple digits or something.
He did. I saw that post, and you know, 2-3 years ago, that might not have been the case. They might have drawn 50, if that.
Yeah, and you know the youth, like just the ministry is like growing, like with the amount of kids we're having per Wednesday. I know that I think on a good day we can get like close to 50, which is which is crazy. That's, you know, because I mean a lot of us are high school, you know, and and I know that, you know, Daniel's goal is to, you know, have 50 in the youth choir. I think I don't remember when he said, maybe by the end of the year. I don't remember. But you know, I'm excited for that choir tour that he's doing. Have you heard about that? The youth is doing a choir tour.
I don't think I have.
And we're, you know, going to have a few stops like Savannah, Jacksonville, things like that.
No, I haven't heard that.
And I'm like, this is, because I was telling him, this is so cool because, like, I know, of course, Argentina's coming up, but there's a lot of kids that just, you know, I'm not saying it's not a good thing because it is a great thing.
Sure, yeah,
but it kind of scares them a little bit. But this is a way for them to get out and still be on mission, like, and go to places and spread the gospel through, you know, talking and singing. And, you know, like, feel like, you know, you're still in the U.S. and you're not, like, 4,000 miles away.
Sure.
You know, so like that's one thing that like really caught my ear. I'm like, yes, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know when it's gonna be, but I'm definitely doing that.
You talk about missions. I think mission trips are essential. They're great, and they produce, you know, great things come from mission trips. Mm-hmm. But my heart, you know, is more local as well. You know,
and that's what I've always said too. Like,
you don't have to go across 7,000 miles.
No.
While people need the gospel across all the ends of the earth, you know, I don't know if it was Pastor Robbie or Jeff who said this recently, but there are thousands of people in Valdosta who still need.
It might have been. Well,
it might have been either one of them.
I thought it might have been Josh or Jeff or somebody that preached. I don't know. There's so many sermons in my head. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I've noticed. Like just in Lowndes, like the school, like Lowndes High. You know, not even counting the other middle and elementary schools.
Yeah.
There are so many kids that, you know, they need it, right?
They do.
And, you know, it's funny, more this year than any other year, kids have started asking me questions, and I'm like, it kind of convicted me a little bit because I didn't know some of the answers, like, I want to study more, and, you know.
Sure.
But it did make me feel good to know that they were asking me, like, you know, that they're coming to me to ask, and I did find out the answers. I'm like, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I don't know, but I will find out from someone.
And to go back to your question, do you see hope for the youth today? And I think with this, what you're doing, like you just said, as well as this podcast, I think, you know, podcasts have taken off.
They really have.
They've really taken off. And, you know, there is, I feel like, a hunger for truth. Yeah. You know, I feel like...
You know, I think... you know, just to go back to the film a little bit, Jesus Revolution kind of summed that up pretty well. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's the same way in this it is now than what it was in the 70s. You know, they're looking for truth, but in all the wrong places. Like for the things that they're.
To be, I think there's universal. You know, everyone wants to feel like they're accepted and they belong somewhere. And you have all these places in the world who will tell them, "Oh yeah, you know." ABC. Yeah. And it's false. It's not right. It's not true. And I think Northside is, church as a whole is a good place a great place for people to want to belong.
Oh yeah.
If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it totally does.
It makes sense in my head.
I 100%. I totally get what you're saying. But yeah, I mean that was just one thing that, like, for sure, like, you can really tell the community, like, just like, you know, for sure, like, one thing that just comes to my mind is, like, you know, this hurricane, like, you know, the community came together, not just Northside, but, you know, with, like, everybody did. Like, we had people, you know, especially from Northside, like Heidi, I can't think of her, I think. Bryant, yes.
Yes.
Yep, I know, because I just saw her post today, or yesterday, I don't remember when. again, I'm getting them mixed up. The days are starting to run together.
Was it yes? It was last night. Yeah.
Yeah. But one thing that, she told us, because my mom and her kind of started talking because of shop, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, if I got power, if you need a hot shower, whatever, you can come to my house and whatever. Mm-hmm. And we didn't do it, but just to know that people are reaching out, for that, it was so awesome. And then it made me think about too, because I think right before that, or it would have been right after all that went down, was, the 9/11 anniversary, came about. And I'm sitting here going, of course it was the same way. Everybody came together afterwards and was comforting each other, but sure. Why does it take, a tragedy or something like that for the community to come together when in reality it should just be all the time?
That's just who we are.
Right.
Who we should be.
And it because that's what it made me think of. I was like, why does it have to have a hurricane or a disaster of some sort?
Or tragedy, like you said. It shouldn't take that for a community to come together.
No.
Well, when we do come together as a community,
it's awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And I had, because we were actually watching the people put our new power pole in because it snapped and everything. And we were watching them put it in, and then we just saw this one lady. She was like, she rode up kind of close to our driveway, and she was talking to the lineman. She said, "We got hamburgers cooking. If you want us to bring you some, we will." And that's just small stuff like that. Just blew my mind. Yeah. And I'm sitting here going, "Why can't we do more stuff like that all the time?"
You're right.
And
Valdosta, it's not a small town.
No, anymore. It's kind of medium-ish.
It is, but it has that small town feeling.
It does.
Everyone kind of knows who everyone is.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask somebody oh, do you know? You probably can find a mutual somewhere in anybody.
Yeah.
Regardless, or that or connect with somebody. It's like, oh yeah, I know that, I know them.
Yeah.
That always is like that.
There's that connection.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
But that's just one that was kind of on my mind. Why does it take all this or take something huge?
Sure.
Because there's so many needs or whatever that we come together. And Northside does a pretty good job with. If they see a need, but. The community come together and it's we need to fix this or we need to help with this or whatever.
And you said Northside does a great job, I think, of reaching the community.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I think about often with that, I interviewed her for it was, Sandy's house, it's a big thing that Northside is a part of, and it makes me think of. But yeah, that's just, for people listening, that's just a thought. Why, this, why does it take, a big tragedy or something like that to happen before we, just come together and help each other, one another. Just something to sit there and think on.
Right. Humanness. Humanity.
Exactly. So, there's a lot of challenges that you face in this world, with social media and whatever else, you can think of. What advice would you give to someone who's finding it hard to navigate this world in a biblical way? I'm just hitting you with another, aren't I?
No, they're good questions.
Yeah.
Be careful of who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Your circle is
that's key.
Everything. The people closest to you they'll influence, your decisions.
They will.
And they'll, they'll lead you, well, I think you should do so and so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that little voice in the back of your head saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this, red flag here. It's really important to know who your people are, and those people know truth.
Yep.
Know right from wrong, essentially.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that I will say too is good friends, they're gonna push you out of your comfort zone.
They will.
And Baines and Steven do that for me. They did that. Not this summer, but last summer. They were pushing me to do stuff, and I'm like, first I was like, "You sure?" And I was like, "Look, it's you guys, so I will." Okay, but it's and it was great. So that's another thing too. They will your friends will challenge you if they're really if they truly care for you and love you, then they're going to challenge you, and also they'll hold you accountable as well.
Absolutely.
With things that they're if you say that you did this, and you're like, it's I don't know about that now.
Did I?
It's but yeah, you really have to find that one or two or that group,
Absolutely.
And again,
and the older I get, the smaller my circle becomes.
Yeah.
Because you kind of learn as you get older, especially after high school and college and whatever, become an adult, you can it's kind of where my discernment kicks in. Because I've always been I think I've always been a pretty good people reader, and I can kind of discern, right, whatever.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to have a group of 10, 12 people,
No.
you know, all leading you different directions. You know, your small, you know, 2, 3, 4 people circle, I think that is important.
Oh yeah, that's not, oh boy, you know, as you said, it shrinks as you get older. I'm gonna be in trouble because I'm joking with you.
I don't mean like, you know.
No, I know what you mean. I'm just joking with you.
But it's good to have, you know, friends, but
Oh, yeah.
your core people you can count on and you can, you know, come to with problems, and if they can point you in the right direction rather than.
Oh yeah, and there's like so many people. Like it's funny. Like there's like so many people here though that I feel that way about. It's like, you know, you could probably honestly walk up to anybody and be like, "Oh look, I need like some prayer or something." Like I'm just, you know, I need some prayer. Like, and they will sit down and do it right then. You know, it's like,
and they mean it.
Oh,
too.
they
it's
do.
not just, oh sure, whatever you say. No, it comes from a genuine.
it's like, you know,
place
it's
of-
like you got it. Let's sit right down and let's do it right now.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, one thing that it makes me think about, I think it was during the Bible conference, maybe. It was like that I think it might have been Saturday night. Remember how like big Saturday night was? If you were there for that, I don't know if you were, but it was a good one. I think that was the night where, I don't know who's preached, but it was, you know, about like getting your baptism right. And a lot, you know, of course, David Williams got rebaptized then.
Yeah.
But it was so cool because my mom, she didn't, of course, I didn't tell her I was going to do this, but I said, you know, because went to Pastor Robbie, said, hey, can we, you know, pray about something? You know, can you help me pray about something for real quick? And, you know, like, so, and my mom turned around and she noticed that we were praying, and so she, of course, snapped a picture like moms do. And it's so cool because you've got, you know, I think like Jeff and Christine and them are up there on stage talking, and then you've got, you know, like all this going on over here, this over here, and then you just got me and Pastor Robbie just at the altar just praying right there, and there's so much going on, but then there's just me and him right there. Yeah, and it's such a cool moment. I just think about that often. You know, I'm so glad she turned around and take that picture too. Yeah. Because I wouldn't have that if that was the case, you know.
That is a special moment.
Yeah, but that's all the questions I really have. But if you have any final thoughts or anything that you'd like to add, then any words of encouragement or anything?
Like I said, you know, Northside is one of the best places to be. You know, I truly feel, and we're on fire.
Oh yeah.
You know, we don't sleep.
No.
Or take, you know.
We don't eat, sleep, or take naps. Nothing.
Nothing. No, you know, just use your discernment.
Yeah.
You know, be careful of, you know, this worldly figures, worldly people.
Yeah.
You know, surround yourself with people who will lift you up and pray for you, and, you know, like you said, hold you accountable.
Yep. And one thing I'll say about that, you know, though, if you hear advice from like a worldly figure or whatever, figure out a way you can turn that biblical, because there's always a way you can turn that biblical. And but I enjoyed this so much, and honestly, I did not expect for it to run as long as it did.
And we were talking like 20 minutes beforehand, I think. So.
See, I told you, people, you can just get rolling and rolling.
Just get going.
But I thank you so much for your time, and I can't wait for this to come out.
Thank you for having me. Like
of
I
course.
said, I was not expecting to get a message from you.
That's what people tell me all the time. They're like, "Why?" It's like, "Why me?" I'm like, "You have a story, don't you? You're here at Northside for a reason." Yeah. So you know, there's a reason why you're here. So that's why I'm asking just about anybody. You know. So
well,
I thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And you know, maybe we'll have another episode.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
With another episode of the Young Minds Podcast coming to a close, I just want to remind you that you are never alone and faith is action. So let's get out there.